Hello and welcome to another one of our Saturday Spotlight interviews. My name is Anna Amelia and I'm from North East Animal Rights. And today I'm absolutely delighted to have along Amanda Woodvine, who is the CEO of Beef for Life. So welcome, Amanda, and thank you very much for doing this for us.
Oh, my pleasure. Lovely to be here.
So we'll go straight into the questions if that's okay with you. So first of all, could you tell us how did Beef for Life start and how did you start your journey with them?
So, bit of a rewind of time. So, the first time I ever heard about what is now V for Life was through a really tiny advert. So, at the time, I was running my local veggie and vegan group back in my home county. It's quite small, and I was working in wills and probate law. And I saw this really tiny advert about vegetarian housing, and it simply gave the bank details for this charity. And I thought, vegetarian housing. I can see, because of my job working in wills and probate and seeing actually what happens to people in later life and appreciating that frailty is a very real thing. Thought, oh, I'll set up this standing order. That sounds great. Thought nothing more of it really until the day that my standing order bounced.
Mm.
So that encouraged me to get in contact with the charity. And she said, oh, yeah, so we're starting up this new organisation. We're disbanding Vegetarian Housing Association. We're setting up a new charity. Here are the details. By the way, your skills fit what we're looking for in a trustee. So brilliant. It wasn't until later on I actually found out I was the only person that had responded to that advert and set up the standing order. Time went on, and I'm now the chief exec, and couldn't be more pleased with the skills fit because it deals with the issues in relation to later life, what can go wrong. A story that really resonated with me is that of Serena Coles, and she exemplifies all that we're trying to support. So Serena was a really passionate animal rights advocate, and she was an early vice president of the Vegan Society. So this is going back to the 1940s, as you can appreciate. And we found some really wonderful footage of her on BBC Two in the 1970s. She was so articulate and just talking about how she brought up her son as a vegan during the difficult time of the war, and people had lost contact with Serena. In the 1990s, one of her old friends from campaigning actually found her. Just wondered, glad she's still with her. She was living in a care home at that time, and she developed dementia. And unfortunately, she was eating meat and dairy in that setting. And as you can tell, that would be completely what she'd have been against in all of her life. Uh, she did point at her friend's lapel badge that she was wearing. She said, "Vegan, I'm a vegan, and that's new." So it was clearly just some element of her vegan identity had been lost in that setting. And that's very much why Vegetarian Housing Association wound down, felt that the better need is to work with all of the care homes in the UK, if possible, to try and increase standards for veggies and vegans. Because the reality is, if you want to guess at how many veggie care homes there are in the UK, you might have already seen the answer, but
I'll let you tell us.
a new one opened just the other week, so there are now only three.
Yeah.
But again, they're
That's
Gujarati, mostly based in North London, not going to suit us all.
Yeah, and I know I did when I was talking to Karen about this. I mean, she was saying about the fact that there's very few veggie care homes, totally veggie. And I mean, I can imagine like it's me sort of getting older. One of my things, I mean, I'm 56 now, so one of my worries would be that I would go to residential care or I would be on my own in my home, and people who didn't understand how my lifestyle would be. I mean, it's a completely ethical lifestyle. It's not sort of like a passing fad sort of thing. I would be absolutely devastated if somebody started feeding me meat. So I can imagine for Serena that would be pretty catastrophic. Um,
Absolutely. And for friends and family that know you and know this really isn't the person that she was, you can see from how she spent her life, her hobbies, her interests, this really isn't her. And I think some people might think it's, so an analogy, I might go to a cafe and I might still say that I'm a vegan, and they say, oh, we've got gluten free, and think it's the same thing.
yeah.
So they think it's somehow you're avoiding certain products, perhaps because you don't like the taste or because you think it's healthier. But for some people, it's the most important belief that you hold. And it, as you say, it goes far deeper than just diet. It's your whole lifestyle and your purchasing of other things.
Yeah. And I suppose now it's enshrined in law in terms of it's a protected belief. There's a legal aspect to it as well. It's not just a case of somebody has made this choice. It's actually protected, and obviously your legal background is it must be very, very important what you do. I noticed when we were talking before we came on air there in the new Viva magazine, which is out. There's a big advert there. I'll put it up to the camera there, and it's talking about the legal aspects, about stand up for your rights. Are you confident about protecting your vegan identity in the future? And your self-advocacy pack, which I know you've got there. So that aspect, the legal aspect, is absolutely vital, because before, if this wasn't here, I wouldn't really know where to go if I was an older vegan, or if I had an older vegan relative who needed support. So
Absolutely.
could you tell me a bit more about the services you offer? I know obviously the food part is just one part of it. We've mentioned the legal part of it as well. I know there's also a pen pal and a telephone pal part of it as well. And I loved having pen pals when I was younger. I had absolutely loads and loads.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
but I know that obviously a lot of communication now is online. So my pen pals, I've only got 2 left, and I kind of write to them maybe a couple of times a year. But obviously your clients are a bit older, so they are probably more used to using pen and paper. So how important is it to them to be able to communicate and write and speak to other like-minded people?
It's absolutely vital. So that service began. So back in the early days of this charity, I was the only person that took any phone calls for the first 3 or so years, because we were really small and we've really grown. And I was hearing, it could be 20 minutes apart. I'd have 2 phone calls of people feeling really isolated. I don't know any other vegans. I don't know what to do. So it was born by that, and just hearing so many people with quite similar stories. So we just decided to set up a pen and phone pal scheme. So some people still like to write, some people prefer to make phone calls. So the scheme aims to connect like-minded people. There's an application form to join the scheme, and you simply list your hobbies and interests, who you might like to meet, your age band, and that sort of thing. And then you can choose from a list who you decide to write to or to phone. And had some really lovely feedback from it. Certainly, just before COVID, somebody wrote in to say, I've had such a great experience with the pen and phone power scheme. 6 of us decided we would meet up, and we went to Drayton Manor.
Wow. That's a big
Can't say
success.
better than that, can you?
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's really, really good. Um, I mean, I know how much joy I got as a child when I was doing all the the pen pal stuff. But I can imagine it must be really, really isolating if if I'm kind of on my own and I'm kind of stuck in my house, and the only contact I've got is through the postman or through my telephone. So is it for sort of older single vegans on their own, or can somebody somebody like me who obviously isn't? Could I use this and write to members who have signed up to this?
So currently the starting age for it is 60 plus.
Right.
So
Yeah.
eventually we all could.
Too
Uh,
soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So we welcome just older people. I think people think that older is just one generation, and that's another sort of stereotype, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's several generations above 60 even, and you think, 60-year-old might not necessarily hang out naturally with a 90-year-old because they would have been the parents' age. So yeah,
Yeah.
all of the generations over 60 it's currently open to.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I'm doing at the moment, I'm currently updating my will, and obviously we've got a list of wishes which we are putting in.
Mm.
And this is something which actually has kind of made me think really, really carefully about how I want to have my wishes carried out. So if I was moving into residential care, or if I was being looked after in my own home on my own, how can I make sure that my beliefs are respected and protected? How are you able to work with? I mean, are you able to work with any care home in the UK, and how would you do that? Do the care homes contact you? Do the relatives contact you, or how does it work?
So addressing the first point, and do please, if I go on a tangent, please do pick me back up on the care side. So the advert that you saw in Viva's magazine was the one that we placed for our self-advocacy pack. So that's a really good starting point. So we've got versions for this covering the law in each of England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. So this is simply a guide to help you with future planning, but it's also got some template letters of care. So if a loved one or yourself, wherever are experiencing difficulties in getting your vegan beliefs respected in the future, this is hopefully a useful starting point. This is available from v4life.org.uk, and it's a publication called the Self Advocacy Pack. And inside it, so this is meant for anyone that's planning future care. So the centrefold of it is something called a statement of wishes. Now, the issue that can go wrong is carers are usually really loving and really caring people. And if you're in front of them and you're now getting very distressed because you've forgotten that you're vegan, you're around people, as I say, there's only 3 fully veggie care homes in the UK at the moment. So the reality for most of us is we're going to be in a mixed care environment in the future. Should we need care? Not everybody does need to enter a residential care setting. So it can be those smells of the steak and kidney pie cooking, the notice board outside saying what's for dinner, or it's steak and kidney pie, steak and kidney pie. So you've got that in your head all day. You've got the smells, you've got the people around you now eating the steak and kidney pie. When you're presented with your vegan meal, if you're seated around people that are eating the steak and kidney pie and you've been given this, I don't know, something odd often still, isn't it, for a vegan potato salad? Well, it's not really dinner, that.
Yeah.
Then they are not really putting 2 and 2 together about why you're being distressed that you're not having the steak and kidney pie. So the Mental Capacity Act is interpreted in interesting ways. Part of it, though, is trying to honour both the past wishes of somebody, but balancing them with their present wishes. And you might be appearing that you want to eat meat, which is a terrible, terrible thing. So what you can really do to help your beliefs really be known and to give your carer real guidance in that situation is fill in your statement of wishes, lodge it with your GP. You can just take lots of photocopies. You can change it at any time. This is a free thing that anyone can fill in at home. So we've given some template wording in the Self Advocacy Pack. So your bottom line is you want to say, if I ever appear to be experiencing issues with capacity or cognition, and accidentally I choose a meat dish or accidentally seem to be wanting meat, I wish to be offered an alternative that perhaps looks similar in appearance to what I'm asking for, uses alternatives to meat and dairy, and you use vegan fortification if needed. And you've been absolutely clear.
Yeah.
It's just lots of people. It's excellent that you're already thinking about wills and future planning. So many people put it off until it's too late. So this is a quick thing you can do. You can get the guide for free from our website, or by all means order a hard copy. It's only £2.75 with the postage thrown in,
Yeah.
and you're protecting that future you.
So in my situation, what I would do is I would download this form, fill it in, and lodge it with my GP and with my solicitor, a statement of wishes, and that would have me covered pretty much.
Absolutely, and if make sure that your relatives also know that you filled something in. Give
Yeah.
them copies. I don't think there's any harm in just, if you can photocopy it, spread it here, there, and I
Yeah.
have this, by the way. I have this, and it's still true for me.
Yeah.
And of course, if you are in a position in the future to have those conversations with carers, as I say, most of us are probably quite frail by that point. Again, it's just emphasising the point. You know that this happens in care sometimes. You want to be prepared for it.
Yeah. So if we have, I mean, my family is non-vegan. Okay, so what sort of dealings and feedback are you having with families who are not vegan, but you're kind of like you're supporting vegan clients?
Not so much contact with the non-vegan relatives. I can only hope that they see
Yeah.
read lovely things. So, for instance, just this Wednesday we were in Parliament
Yes,
uh,
yes, I know,
for
yeah,
our awards for
yeah.
excellence in
I
vegetarian
know.
and vegan care catering, and
Yeah,
the standard there just blew me away. I think we had the cream of the crop there with us.
yeah.
Um, and one of the tasks that they did were pretending that they were making vegan graze balls.
Mm,
That's like a mini buffet if you've not seen them. So you get like they could be served on a chopping board or something like that. And they just have interesting different little things, like you could have samosas, hummus, little dips, and so on and so on. The ideas that they came up with, they were all tasked with having a theme to produce a graze board. So it had everything from create a New Year's party one, create a Mother's Day one. The ideas just blew me away. It's come a long way since. I was also telling them it's my 20-year big anniversary in January, and that back in those days, the offerings if you ate out were chips and salad. So for the suggestions that they could come up with this week, and also in recent years as well. So the first ever vegan wholesale catalogue for the care sector came up. Before then, I'd speak to care caterers and they say, oh, we do have veggie and vegan residents, but to get any food for them, I have to buy it along with my family's weekly shop and claim it back on expenses because I can't get it from a wholesaler.
Yeah.
So the difference is staggering, and I really hope that just the passion that some people do have for veggie and vegan catering, and then maybe seeing the award in the care home.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. You've won Veggie Care Chef of the Year.
Yeah.
I hope it gets them thinking.
Yeah, I mean, we should have mentioned that as well. Congratulations, because I know when I was talking to Karen to set this interview up, she said you were both really, really busy because you were at Parliament and you were doing all this sort of like really important stuff. So that's brilliant work. So well done on that. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to be recognised, so publicly as well. Now, many people who are watching this will be vegan already, but and obviously we've got Veganuary coming up. So what could they do, to support older vegans, whether it's in their homes or sort of they're going into care? What could they do for them?
Sure. If I just illustrate this with another story, so a lady called Margaret. So Margaret's now in her late 80s. She's been a vegan for many years, probably about 60 years, but now her health is failing her. So her eyesight's unfortunately been the first thing to go, but she's also got rheumatoid arthritis, so her hands and her joints are just swollen. So this does mean, although she used to be able to drive to the big supermarket, mentioning no particular ones, and do her shop there, because she's losing her vision, she's no longer able to drive.
Yeah.
So as an older vegan, she's now looking at more local options, and she's obviously becoming less independent. So one thing you might do, look at your local corner shop, see what they've got there. Usually the barrier here is the range of stuff that they've got, if anything. You can imagine the price of something like soya milk if they even stock it in your local corner shop. She's thinking, well, maybe I could have done beans on toast, but I can't actually open a ring pull anymore.
Yeah.
So as you can see, Margaret's horizons are starting to narrow a bit.
Yeah.
She might look at her local lunch club, and again, fairly typically, there's not even a veggie option, let alone a vegan option. Margaret said, oh, have you considered doing any veggie or vegan options? And they say, no, but you can still eat with us, pay your £3, bring your own food. Well, that's not solving any problem, is it?
Yeah.
So then, again, like many, but not all, she has never had any interest in using the internet. So it's not a question of just doing a big online supermarket shop.
Yeah.
She's seeing the TV adverts. Days gone by though. A few years ago, I think it was Ronnie Corbett back in the day advertising a particular large supplier of meals that you could get delivered to your door. But through them, there were only 2 vegan options. So if she went with that, she'd be thinking, well, which shall I have for my lunch and which shall I have for my dinner? So we start to see that it can actually become a lot more challenging to stay vegan, even if you're still living at home. So you asked me what people can do for Veganuary. I think one way might be to think about local lunch clubs in your area. Some people might actually have links with a veggie or vegan cafe, and how lovely it would be if that cafe could agree, perhaps one day of the week or the month even, to do a special rate for people. So to treat it like it's a lunch club and to advertise it for seniors to come and have a relatively low price meal and to meet other people. So you're so isolated there. But other ways, so we produce guides such as Dinners to Your Door, which has got a guide to vegan meals that are available for home delivery, and not necessarily using the internet for it. So as we've seen for people like Margaret, you can say, oh, we can get it all from this website. It's not as simple as that, is it? I understand that there's I'm only aware of one. Please, if you have any viewers that know otherwise, I think Sainsbury's is the only supermarket that you can actually phone as well and place a phone order. So it's spreading the word about the resources, the leaflets that we've got, and again, perhaps trying to campaign. If you've got a little extra energy and zeal, can you get your local lunch club to provide vegan options? And again, on so we've got two websites. The sister branding is Vegetarian for Life because the vegetarian branding still is the one that resonates with care homes. And I think, well, if you're searching for V in the internet, it's probably a bit of bit of a wide sea.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, on the Vegetarian for Life website, that's where we've got things like a lunch club guide, which is a guide to how you would set up a lunch club as well if you're that way motivated. But otherwise, absolutely, you could donate to support our work or become a subscriber. There's loads of ways to get involved. But I think really spreading the word and just thinking about these issues and how do we reach people like Margaret.
Yeah, there was a couple of things popped up in my head when you were talking there. I mean, I know you're talking about the Ronnie Corbett company, and we use this company for my husband's mother when she got dementia, and she was living at home. And we used to get the catalogs because again, you don't really. I mean, I can order online. I order online for her, but we used to get the hard copy catalogs, which obviously is much more user friendly. But I was very sort of dismayed at the few vegetarian options, never mind vegan options. I mean, there was a couple of accidentally vegan options, but it is kind of, you'd be eating the same thing pretty much every single day. You'd be horrendous, you know.
And food's such an enjoyable part of your life, isn't it? It's
It
something
is.
you look forward to, or you
Yeah.
hope that you're able to look forward to it.
Yeah, and also you talked about the lunch club. Again, I've got a little venue which is just popping in my head there, which we use all the time, which is a lovely vegan stroke vegetarian place quite local to us, and they are very they use they employ people who have learning difficulties or autism, you know, so they're already very, very inclusive. So that's maybe something which we could talk to them about, you know, or something like that, because we will have, you know, veganism is gaining a lot of traction now, so we are going to have a lot of vegans needing some support, which kind of leads me on to the next question was, you know, as more and more people are becoming vegan now, there's going to be a lot of demand for your service. I mean, I've got no idea how many clients you have at the moment, but I can see it kind of like, you know, and I know obviously you started off pretty small and you're getting bigger and bigger, but in terms of capacity and your growth rates, how is that looking at the moment?
So, in terms of what we class as our members, so we work with UK care homes. We're aiming to have one in six of all of the UK care homes to be members of something called our UK list.
Yeah.
So that means that one in six of all care homes that cater for older people have signed up to cater well and ethically for older vegans and vegetarians. So we're only about 100 or so away from that, which is really good. You can search the directory hopefully you'll see, search the directory, a big link on our website. And then you could search for care homes in your area that have pledged, as I say, to be members. Some have gone one extra step and have made something called a memory care pledge. So they sign up not only to the statement that I encourage people to put in their statement of wishes about accidental choices, but also they're encouraged to offer people a veggie or vegan only table. So again, there's less chance of picking or seeing something. It's not like people during a mealtime will go for a wander around the restaurant and have a look at what everybody else has got on the table. I think you're very much just seeing what people around you are eating, and that's where the other issues in. I mean, I don't see much merit in having every care home in the country available through our directory, because that begs the question, well, why would you have a directory of every single care home's on there? But do have a look. We're very open to feedback. See how well we've done. Can you find a care home near enough to you that has made a memory care pledge or has signed up? And if not, again, there's the case that if you have a bit of passion about it and you're extra motivated because it's veganuary, perhaps you could call in and just spread the word and say, actually, I'm really concerned that having done a little look for care homes near me for future planning, you don't seem to be signed up, but you otherwise look like you're a good care home.
Yeah.
Somebody in a workshop the other week actually said that the average care home resident would bring in £78,000 worth of fees for a care home. So every lost client, because they haven't got a decent vegan menu or a veggie menu, or they're just silent about what they offer, that's £78,000 worth of business.
Yeah.
So perhaps that makes you rethink about having some veggie and vegan options.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's always a good business choice to make as well. I mean, we've seen what why we have bigger companies constantly pushing, like looking at Tesco's and Sainsbury's and lots of other places now pushing up their vegan or the plant-based food anyway. So they're doing that because they know there's a market for it and they know there's enough money in it. So again, there's so much money in fees. Clearly there needs to be like a rethink, and people need to be looking at how they can bring this into care homes. So I'm kind of when I was when I was thinking about sort of preparing for this interview, I was kind of thinking getting older, sort of becoming more frail and being less independent, more reliant on others is quite a scary time. But actually I feel quite heartened by all the work you're doing. I kind of feel as if I know now what I need to do to kind of plan for myself and work out how I can help other people who are older and who are possibly feeling a little bit vulnerable. So what's next for you then? What's next for you for Be for Life?
The very next thing that we're working hard behind the scenes on, so there's so many gaps in the market in care. So some people need a fortified diet, so that means they need extra protein and calories because it can be harder to eat a lot of food for various reasons. But the thing that we've just sent off to press is something called vegan texture modified. So this is for anybody with a condition called dysphagia, and that could happen if yeah, exactly, swallowing problems, could be because someone's had a stroke or has dementia and they've forgotten how to swallow. So this again is the first of its kind, just some recipes that will be sent to all of our UK list members and available obviously to buy. So vegan texture modified, made at all of the so-called IDSI levels. I won't go into the technicalities, but there'd be something for available for you as a vegan, something tasty, something that looks as good as it could for texture modified food, that's thought all of these things through.
Well, that sounds really, really good. So I mean, all power to you and your team as well. It sounds as if you're kind of like constantly pushing to make the older vegans' life so much better and so much easier. So we're running out of time now, unfortunately. I've got so many things I could ask you. So I think probably what I'll do is I'll maybe email Karen through. But if you what I'll do is I'll put on the chat after this on our post when we air the interview, all the links and everything through to things like getting a self-advocacy pack and where they can get support and just other things you can other ways we can help older vegans as well. But I'm going to sign off and say thank you very much for talking to us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been really, really fascinating to know that out there that someone is thinking ahead and looking after older vegans, and I will be one very soon. So thank you very much. It's really, really valuable and important work. So I'm going to sign off now. So this is Anna-Malia from Northeast Animal Rights saying thank you very much to Amanda Woodvine, who is the CEO of Be for Life.
Oh, my pleasure. It's lovely chatting to you.
Thank you very much.